Week 15. Wow, right? 3 weeks remain of the semester. Today, what I want to do, this is peer review week. Been working so hard to get to this place. It's peer review week, but before we fully jump into reviewing each other's work, I want to go over some editing information with you because editing is of vital importance. And we've had snippets here and there. We've been working on helping one another with peer review throughout the semester. I gave you the peer review lecture in the very first week of class. But today I want to go back over some editing information, especially because we've done all of this work. We've done all of this writing. We're now at the end. And in 3 weeks, you're going to be on your own again. And you've got to remember some very important information about editing and why it is so important. And so what we're going to do today, I have a PowerPoint presentation to go along with this talk. I'm going to open it up and let's be honest, it's me. So a lot of it's just going to be funny because I like to do that. But then there are going to be some very serious things as well. Some information that we really need, not just you, but me, that I need to continually remind myself and continually to put into practice so that my writing improves. Okay, so editing is information for all writers. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and open up this presentation that I put together. This is going to say that it is specifically for our novel writing class. However, I am also going to post this to YouTube, so hopefully it can be of service and be of help to future people who might stumble across it and are needing some editing ideas and tips, perhaps. So the first thing I want to do, now that I've got everything set, is we're going to talk about why editing is important. And I'm going to make a case for why editing is of vital importance. You may not believe me. You might want to put it off and not make time for it. Okay. Perhaps we should go over a few reasons why editing is so important. And we're going to start with a little bit of your grammar sucks. Why is editing important? Well, let's watch a little video, shall we? If it will begin. Doo-doo-doo. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know.
YouTube should bang this channel. Does the girl have to be conscious to get pregnant? I will sing this in pubic. That's a promise. Danebo, do why exposed when how effects? That is own. Stud it. Stop it.
I hope my girlfriend don't watching this.
Some people, what I know, doesn't like this song. What a assholes. Some people, oh, what? I know, doesn't like this song. Anthony is not racist, he has a picture. Or a black guy.
Did you see his eyes sparkle in his eyes?
Dame them, bitch, slaping wall monster. I've been basting 8.5 years of my life in school already. Not really a Spanish break? I can't hear this without thinking of Simon Pegg beating a zombie with the pool. Okay? Oh well.
Don't call me a fucker, I'll ever know better in school than you.
Thumbs up if you don't have seen this, and will never do.
I'm underage.
I lugged so hard. For the pebble that don't know, vids is a remembrance of Titanic. It most be terrible to life at war. Mermaids is not beautiful. They is disgustings. I can. It is a costume. How? That's a good costume.
Your grammar sucks in real life.
Ham birthday.
Everything's a goodbye.
We delivery. Ask about our meet and groom. Ask about meeting our groom. Don't use caution. Low CLing. This may look right, but it's actually in the dairy section of a grocery store. Whoops. Mind you in business? God versus Mose. I not smile. Questioning my sexuality.
Whatever, Gene.
Purgatory doesn't exit. My boyfriend broke up with me last night to get back together with his ex. He always told me to never worry about being jealous of her. I always knew that she still had feelings for him, but he didn't like her until she found her way back into his heart and he stopped noticing me. She always hurted him, and I never would do anything to hurt him.
I asked him, would you rather have someone who will love you more or someone who will love you less?
Now I watch him pain seeing her with him, knowing he can do better with me. Help me clean up the world. If you see an amazing bad comment on the internet, take a screen cap of it and send it my way, either via Twitter or my Facebook fan page. If you see an amazing bad comment in real life...
Thanks, Jack. I love your grammar sucks. If you guys have never watched those videos, it's a great rabbit hole to go down when you've got absolutely nothing else going on. There's like 150 of those videos, and it's just things they've found on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, all over the place. People send them in, and they're just horribly written messages. And he and his friends will try to read them and keep a straight face. So it's funny, but it's also not funny when you consider the fact that the people who are writing these things are writing them and just putting them out there, you know, without even a thought to edit. That's frightening. So funny, but also not funny. Here are some other examples of why editing is important. I mean, don't edit if you don't want to, but you might end up in an English professor's PowerPoint. We sail RVs. What do you guys think? Do you feel pretty comfortable making a purchase from this company? I have more. You ready? I have more. She said, "You can get on the airplane." I said, "No, thanks. I'm getting in the airplane." Ha ha, knee slapper. Hey, prepositions matter. They can change the whole meaning of the sentence. Getting on the airplane and in the airplane are by far different things. The cannons be ready, Captain. R. Oh, I snorted. All right. I mentioned this sentence earlier in the semester. I know that I did. I belong on a beach with messy hair, tanned skin, and a margarita watching the waves. I think I might have said it a little bit differently in class, but this is where it came from. I belong on a beach with messy hair, tanned skin, and a margarita watching the waves. Order of words is important. I drew what I understood the sentence to say. Are you ready? The beach has messy hair and tanned skin, and there's a margarita watching the waves. Again, we might want to say, with messy hair and tanned skin, I belong on a beach with a margarita in my hand as I watch the waves. Or, with messy hair, tanned skin, and a margarita in my hand, I belong on a beach watching the waves. Fixed. Order of words. This is a rampant problem. Hope I'd done well in the English exam. Probably not. Probably not. And because I cannot stop myself, do you need the Oxford comma? Have you guys participated in this debate? Have you had these conversations with, I don't know, other teachers or classmates or just people in your life? Maybe this isn't a big concern for you, but in some circles, This is a big topic. Do you need the Oxford comma? Then use it. If you don't, do not. This is how I feel about it. And I found this argument, which is very well constructed, and so I want to present it to you. With the Oxford comma, we invited the strippers, JFK, and Stalin. Without the Oxford comma, we invited the strippers, JFK, and Stalin. The Oxford comma allows us to create a very clearly defined list of items. Strippers, JFK, and Stalin. 3 separate items or people. So items. Without the Oxford comma, let's say just use the 1 comma, we invited the strippers. Well, who are the strippers? JFK and Stalin. I would say I invited my parents, comma, David and Margie. Not I invited my parents, comma, David, comma, and Margie, because then I've invited 4 people instead of 2. Do you see what I'm saying? So when you're going through your writing or someone else's writing, and it's a list situation or it's descriptors, you need to look at it clearly, because Grammarly, bless Grammarly's heart, might not always get this right. You need to read carefully in the editing stage and make sure that it's going to make sense to your reader. Comma splices. I see these all the time in discussion posts, which we shouldn't be seeing these. If we are going to be writers, we profess to be writers, we need to be watching for situations where we have 2 independent clauses and we're putting them together as 1 sentence. Independent clause, independent clause. Can be a sentence by itself, can be a sentence by itself. For instance, I was hungry. I ate lunch. 2 independent clauses, 2 full sentences by themselves, and here I come along and I think I'm going to hold those together with a comma. Well, my friends, that is a comma splice, and it is errant. It is incorrect. You may not do this. It doesn't work, and it will be counted wrong. Now, I created this little graphic over here. I think this guy is super cute. I made this several years ago, and I was just like, oh, I love him. I need to make one with a semicolon who's got it like, like this. I haven't done that. It says a comma is not strong enough to carry the weight of 2 sentences. He's just not. Sad, sad news. Poor comma. So how do we fix a comma splice? We've got 2 independent clauses. We want them to be 1 sentence. What do we do? How do we fix this sad, weak little comma situation? Well, the first one, how about we just put a period in there and let it be the 2 sentences that they are. I was hungry, period. I ate lunch, period. Boom, fixed. Fixed. Walk away, drop the mic. You're good. Or, I was hungry, semicolon. I ate lunch. Let's think of the semicolon as a comma with a muscle. He's a comma who's been working out. He's a comma who grew up. I don't know. He's got a top. He's stronger. Can hold 2 sentences together. In fact, that's the semicolon's job. He doesn't have any other job. This is his job, to hold independent clauses together so that they can be 1 sentence. Because for some reason, you need I was hungry and I ate lunch to be 1 sentence. I'm not sure why you feel that way, but apparently you do. So semicolon will work, not a comma. Now, if you are absolutely a diehard comma fan, and you must keep your comma. Add a conjunction. I was hungry, comma, so I ate lunch. I was hungry, comma, and I ate lunch. So you can keep your comma, but you have to add a conjunction. And, or, nor, for, but, so, therefore, however, any of those type of words can correct the situation as well. So we need to be very mindful about comma splices. These are rampant. I see these every time I sit down to grade, and try as I might put these explanations on dry erase boards and PowerPoint presentations and make the notations inside people's essays and writing projects, I still see them. So I'm not sure what's happening there. Grammarly will catch these. Words Editor will catch these. So when we're seeing writing that's full of comma splices, what that says is, I haven't run my tools and I'm not paying close attention to my grammar. So please be aware of that. This is one of those things that for an English teacher jumps off the page. They like jump off the page and suck to our faces. Like they're just like a starfish that's hungry, like, right? And I can't ignore it. So let's get those corrected in the editing stage before they get turned in. Here's a little bit more on the comma splice. If you don't think punctuation is important, try forgetting the semicolon when you tell someone, I'm sorry, I love you. Oh, I'm sorry, I love you. Wait, that's not what I meant. I'm sorry. I love you. Completely different sentence. Semicolons are great. Editing is of vital importance. I can't stress this enough. Not reading that out loud. They could have used some editing, huh? This one. Please do not drink, eat, or discard diapers in exam rooms. Please, no eating or drinking in exam rooms. Do not discard diapers. Find another way to write this, because otherwise we got people that are drinking and eating diapers. Seriously? Edit. You know, sometimes the news doesn't do a good job editing. Have you ever been watching the news and caught a typo? It's hilarious. So here you go. This is what? Storm Track 5 KCTV. Sure, we could look that up and find out exactly where that's from. Silly weatherman. How about this? I bet this would deter shoplifting. Shoplifters will be prostituted. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like what they're trying to say is prosecuted. Perhaps. I feel like that's probably the proper terminology there. Editing. It's important. And a point here is prostituted is a correct word, right? So this is not something that Grammarly is going to catch. Shoplifters will be prostituted. That is a sentence. And it could be a thing that happened. It's not what was meant. And this is one of the reasons why we must read our work out loud. Thank you, Chuck Wendig. You're welcome. Read your work out loud. Oh, thank you, Stephen King. You're welcome. Thank you, every author that ever wrote anything and said, read your work out loud. You're welcome. This is what you catch when you read your work out loud, because your ears are going to hear that. Now, this is absolutely one of my favorites, my hands down favorites. Cologne is a hard word, right? It is. So let's see how hard it is. When you hug a guy and you smell like his colon, I smell like men's colon. When you can still smell his colon on your pillow, even though he's not there. After you hug a boy and you smell his colon. I love when I can smell a guy's colon as he walks by. Again, this is one of those situations where you've got to read it out loud because colon, C-O-L-O-N, is a word. And it fits in the sentence because I'm sure the colon has a smell. But when the word that's meant is cologne, which is a completely different spelling, that's not something necessarily that Grammarly or Words editor is going to catch. Read your work out loud. Very important. Please use tongue or tissue paper when making your selection. Thank you. Don't you love it when people use the letter instead of the word? Stop doing that. It will weaken your brain muscles. When we write text messages, fully write out the words because what you are doing by fully writing out the words is practicing good writing skills. Please do not add to your bad writing skills any more than what's already there. And also use a tongue to pick up your bagel, not a tongue. Oh, this one. Oh, y'all want to go? Let's sit this one out. Edit your sign. Please edit your sign. Just gonna let that sit there for a second. I might take a drink of water right quick. Okay, thank you, South Bend, Indiana. Tables are for eating customers only. I'm not sure that's a restaurant I want to go to. How about tables are for dine-in customers only? I think that would be a better option. Sometimes we need to use a thesaurus. This way, if you're going to be mean to somebody, you're going to have a great cut down. Make sure you spell it right. Because if you're like me at all, you see something like this where somebody's trying to be nasty, like in comment threads on news articles, and people can't spell because they don't edit and they don't take their time. They're just reacting out of emotion and anger. So they just write whatever jumps into their heads. And there's never good punctuation, and words are not spelled right. And I sit back and just giggle. You're not putting a very strong foot forward out there on the internet, are you? Because it's not hard to find out who wrote that. So when you're going to, I don't know, write a cut down on somebody's window with shoe polish, spell it right if you want to be taken seriously. Also, a lot is not a word. I see A-L-O-T written in papers frequently. A lot is not a word. You do not write a little, a bunch, a cantaloupe, or a pork chop. Stop writing a lot. It's two words. A lot. No smoking allowed. Again, allowed is a correct word, but it's not the word that's meant here. They mean A-L-L-O-W-E-D. So grammar check isn't necessarily going to catch this. Read it yourself. Read it out loud. Read it aloud. Oh, things can go horribly wrong when you don't edit. Not reading this one, just letting it be. It's right there. You can see, you can read. Okay, moving on. I'm going to go to the store. I haven't gone yet. Do you want me to get some? Now, I shared this. I shared some of these pictures with one of my comp classes last fall, as a matter of fact. And my birthday came around, and one of my students had gone to the store and bought some apple butter and taped the word homemade. She gave me some homemade apple butter for my birthday. Oh, literally the best birthday present I've ever gotten. It's on my shelf in my office, and it will remain on my shelf in my office. I will never open that jar. Best ever. So that's not how you spell homemade, though, by the way. Oh, people are funny to me. I mean, sometimes bad grammar is funny, then other times it's absolutely tragic. I was grading a student's paper one day and I came across this sentence. It's going to be a great day, comma, I love my life, comma, my husband and I look good, exclamation point. And I sat back and I thought to myself, is she saying she loves her life and her husband? Or is she saying she loves her life and she and her husband look good? Which is she saying? Because I don't quite know. And variants of punctuation change the sentence. Let's look at this. It's going to be a great day. Let's put a period. Period. We got a big old comma splice situation going on in that sentence. Do you see it? It's going to be a great day is an independent clause. I love my life is an independent clause. My husband and I look good is also an independent clause. We have 3 independent clauses slash complete sentences as one sentence. Something's got to change. Something's got to give. So I did this. It's going to be a great day, period. I love my life, comma, my husband, comma, and I look good. Or that could even read, I love my life and my husband, no comma, and I look good. Now, see, I don't have that one on here, and I just thought of that. How about this one? It's going to be a great day, period. I love my life, period. My husband and I look good, exclamation point. Or, it's going to be a great day, semicolon. I love my life, exclamation point. My husband and I look good. So I'm really not quite sure what she meant. Do you see how punctuation matters? And it can change the entire meaning of what you're saying if it is used inappropriately. So we want to be making sure that we are using our tools. Now, this is just an English teacher joke. Punctuate this sentence. A woman without her man is nothing. How would you punctuate this sentence? Well, here's the joke. I'm just going to go ahead and give it to you. An English professor wrote the words, a woman without her man is nothing, on the chalkboard and asked the students to punctuate it correctly. All of the males in the class wrote, a woman, comma, without her man, comma, is nothing. All of the females in the class wrote, a woman, colon, without her, comma, man is nothing. Punctuation is powerful. Isn't that great? That's so great. Just a reminder, we need to make sure that we're using it well. All right. English is a difficult language. It can be understood through tough, thorough thought, though. And if you can't take it anymore, if you're done with all these pictures that I'm sharing, please edit your work because I have more. I took out about half that were in this presentation prior to this. You can do more. You can find more out there in the big world of bad grammar. They're all over the place. I have a few former students who will frequently, I get text messages from them with screen or pictures that they've taken while they're out and about around Tulsa or wherever else that they are. When they come across bad grammar on a menu or on a business sign or just in various places, keeps me giggling. I thoroughly enjoy that. But also at the same time, it just makes me sad. But we are writers, right? We are writers. And because we are writers, we need to edit ruthlessly. We need to be willing to slash up our work. I want to show you something. This is from On Writing. So you've been reading On Writing, so you would be familiar with this. You may have even come across this in your reading because you should be done with the book by now. But in here, he does talk about editing. And he shows us more than just what I've included here on this page, what a Stephen King manuscript looks like when he's editing it. Do you see this? If this is something that the man who has written over 60 books and has 350 million copies books sold, if this is something that he does every time he writes a manuscript, don't you think it's something we ought to do? You need to be willing to do this to your work. Edit. Mark it up. Tear up your work. Get better. All right. So here's some information from On Writing. And so you would have encountered this information in your reading. Oh. All right. Actually, I'm taking this from a website where it's called Stephen King's Writing Process, how it works. But the information that this person pulled out in this article down here that you can click on the link, it's from shortform.com. The information was on this blog site pulled from the On Writing book. So it should sound familiar to you. When you write your first draft, King suggests that you close your door. This is both literal and metaphorical. Literally, closing your door helps you focus and block out the outside world. This is part of Stephen King's writing process. Metaphorically, write the first draft of your story just for you. By and large, don't worry about what anyone else thinks. Care less. There is no outside world. The story belongs to you. As we'll cover soon, there's one exception, your ideal reader, or your intended reader, which Stephen King says is his wife, Tabitha. When you rewrite, you need to open your door. When you edit, open your door. You'll think about your readers and how to make at least some of them happy. You'll take in feedback from people you trust and grapple with reconciling their feedback with your vision. Stephen King's writing process depends on this feedback. Stephen King depends on the eyes of others, his wife, his friends, probably his children, who are all writers, his editor, who in an interview that we watch in, it's a 1993 interview by Charlie Rose, Stephen King, he says that his editor won't let him be Stephen King. He treats him just like he's anyone else. And I think that's fantastic. He doesn't get a pass. None of us get a pass. If we want our writing to be done well, we must edit and we must be willing to have the eyes of others on our work. I feel like that's a walk away moment right there. Here's Stephen King's writing process from beginning to end. Okay. Write and finish the first draft with no help or advice from anyone else. Their well-meaning words can trigger self-doubt if critical, or make you complacent if positive. Write as quickly as you comfortably can. This keeps your enthusiasm high and limits self-doubt from creeping in. Another reason why we bleed on the page and word vomit is to stop our self-doubts. Just roll with it. The really magical things that your mind wants to say are only going to happen when you stop thinking. When you finish the first draft, give the story to anyone who's been dying to read your work, but demand they not discuss your writing with you until you're ready to. You need a break from your writing. So when you finish the draft, give it to anyone who's been dying to read it. You've got friends out there that are like, hey, let me read that. But demand that they don't talk to you about it until you're ready for that, because you have to walk away from it. Take a few days off from writing. Have fun and relax. When you're ready, go back to writing, but write about something totally different from what you just finished. King suggests taking at least 6 weeks off from your draft. Wowza. And the reason for that, and I've said this before, is that you emotionally disentangle from your work. You're so uptight. You're so full of anxiety. You're just excited and anxious, and all of these emotions are wrapped up in this paper that you've written this story on. You have to disentangle from that. You've got to put it away. Now, we're not going to have 6 weeks, right? We're not going to have that much time. In fact, we're not going to hardly have any time at all. But in the peer review process, your eyes are going to be on other people's papers and not so much on your own. You're going to need to get your editing done about the time that you get those peer-reviewed papers back from your classmates. So it's going to be kind of like a process here for a few days. During this time, resist the temptation to read your draft. The point is to get distance from the draft so you'll be more objective, an objective critic when you revise. It'll be easier to kill your darlings. And that is quoting Stephen King from On Writing. Finally, go back to your draft. By this point, it should feel oddly familiar, yet unrecognizable, like the work of someone else who writes suspiciously like you. Read the draft in one sitting if possible. I'm telling you guys, I have books I've written that are published, and I read them and go, I wrote that. It's oddly familiar, but unrecognizable. Like, wow, that came out of my head? Okay. I don't know when that happened. I do know when that happened, and I remember doing it, but sometimes the wording, the phrases, just different scenes, things that happen. I'm like, I came up with that? That's crazy. So that's what he's talking about here. Like the work of someone who writes suspiciously like you. I like that. Read the draft in one sitting. Note fixes for specific issues like grammar and usage, deleting adverbs, plot holes, and character motivations. Also, ask yourself big picture questions. What is the story about? Is there a theme? Are there recurring elements? Is the story coherent? Go back through and revise for your second draft. Fix the small specific issues and polish your big picture ideas. Once you define your theme, add scenes and shape the story to strengthen the theme. After you finish, give the second draft to a small group of readers that you trust. Listen to their feedback. Peer review. What? Incorporate the feedback as you like. Just because someone gives you feedback doesn't mean you have to take it. Consider it. Think about it. You're going to find good nuggets here, nuggets there you can let go, but around that nugget was something good. And so you're going to draw from what others have to say and then make the changes that you feel are appropriate, because ultimately it's in your hands. Unless you have gotten yourself an actual book editor. And at that point, it is going to be out of your hands and you will have to make the changes that they tell you to if you want them to publish your book. So incorporate the feedback as you like. This can be your next draft or even your final draft. Wow, so he's saying 1, 2, 3 drafts through the editing stage? What? Use however many revision cycles you're comfortable with. King's standard process takes 2 drafts and a final polish. For Stephen King, the writing process is an extremely important part of writing. All right. Now, I found this article, and I have given this one to you on Blackboard as well. So you can click the link on Blackboard on your course shell, and it will take you to pageturnerawards.com, 10 key things to look for in a copy edit. But I wanted to put it here and walk through this with you. It's, in a sense, Page Turner Awards is doing a commercial for Pro Writing Aid through writing this piece. And Pro Writing Aid is, as it says here, a grammar checker and self-editing software. So it is similar to Grammarly Premium. I'm not quite as familiar with it, but it is an excellent tool. So let's go ahead and read through what 10 key things to look for in a copy edit has to say. This is from Page Turner Awards. We've found that writers either love or hate editing. Some thrive in diving into the details and working out how to craft the perfect sentence. Others find the whole process overwhelming. Like writing, editing is a skill, but fortunately it's a skill that can be learned, and there is help out there. Pro Writing Aid is a grammar checker and self-editing software that helps to take the guesswork out of your editing process. With 25 reports focused on the key improvements real editors make, Pro Writing Aid streamlines your process by showing you where to start and where to go from there. If you want to learn as you edit, track your progress in real time and make sure that your words are doing your story justice, give Pro Writing Aid a try for free. So see, commercial. If you're entering the Page Turner Awards, these steps will help you polish your 3,000-word chapter or equivalent first 10 pages of your manuscript before submitting it to the competition. And if you're just looking for some great copy editing advice, keep reading for our list of 10 things to look for in your edit. So Page Turner Awards is a great site for you to look for contests to enter. They post a lot of opportunities. They also have information that they will send out to you via email. Great writing advice. It's an excellent site. I highly recommend. I receive emails from Page Turner Awards, which is how I came across this article. So once I saw it, I was like, oh, I have to share this with my class. So, and this is what I'm doing. And you really need to, if you are serious about getting into creative writing, diving in both feet into this world, because it's its entire own realm, the subculture of writers. You need to be getting information from sites like Page Turner Awards and get yourself starting to submit to contests, submit to small presses, submit to literary magazines, be writing some short stories that you can do things like that with, just so you can start building a name for yourself. So let's go ahead and go through what they have to say. When should I copy edit? The first thing you need to decide is whether your manuscript is ready for copy editing. If you were building a house, there would be no point trying to fit windows before you'd built the main structure. Sure, the windows are necessary, but if there are no frames to put them in, you're going to end up with a whole lot of broken glass. Copy editing should come after your developmental edit. That means you need to have your story structure in place before you start zooming in on the details. Once you know that your key plot points are in order, your point of view is consistent, and your character arcs are satisfying, you can move on to your copy edit. Now let's take a look at all of these different aspects, sorry about that, of doing a copy edit. Number 1, prioritize your readers by checking readability. One of the hardest parts of copy editing is knowing where to start. Checking your readability can give you some useful clues. What is readability? As the name suggests, it's a measure of how clear your writing is. Readability measures how easy it is for your readers to understand and engage with your ideas. Most fiction readers like to read at a 7th grade level. Remember how we talked about a few weeks ago that sometimes it's the simplest word? And when we look at Stephen King's writing, like I read to you, The Man Who Loved Flowers, The language in that piece was all very accessible to anyone who would be listening to that story or reading that story. And so be remembering this, a 7th grade level. That doesn't mean they're reading books for 7th graders. Instead, the best authors are able to tell complex stories through simple language to make them accessible and enjoyable for readers. Some of the factors that affect readability are poor sentence length variety, and we've talked about that prior as well. We have to use variety in paragraph length, variety in sentence length, variety in word length. We break it up. There's psychology in this. Overly complex vocabulary. Use simple language. Use conversation language. Overusing the passive voice. Passive voice makes your writing boring. It's timid. We just want to avoid it. And using vague language. We can avoid that by being descriptive and detailed. Being very detailed. When deciding where to focus first, look for sections of your text that include these factors. If you've written a paragraph that is 2 50-word sentences in a row, your reader may start to struggle. We'll cover how to fix each one of these writing mistakes next. Oh, I meant to take that out. That part right there. Spotting areas where your writing is difficult to read is difficult on your own. You know what you meant, after all. Pro Writing Aid's Readability Report highlights difficulty, slightly difficult, and easy to read paragraphs in your text so you know where to focus first. It also gives you an overall and paragraph-by-paragraph readability score based on systems used by writing experts. All scores are based on averages for your genre, and you know you're heading in the right direction. Okay. Grammarly can also let you know. You can set if you want it to be professional tone or casual tone, and according to that, it will let you know if you have readability, if your paper is accessible to a particular audience. So how can you improve your readability? Number 2, keep readers engaged by varying sentence lengths. Excuse me. Imagine you're hacking your way through a jungle. You come across a bush and manage to cut through it relatively easy. Then you meet another 4 bushes, and then another 5. And if you keep having to muscle your way along the path, you're going to get exhausted fast. Think of your sentences in the same way. Your reader can handle long sentences, but if you keep using them, eventually they will get tired of fighting their way through to your meaning. Amen. As someone who grades papers for a living, let me just say, varying your sentences gives your readers a chance to process what you're telling them and to link one info-heavy sentence to another. It also stops sentences from blurring into one. On the other hand, too many short sentences will feel disjointed and prevent you from setting up more complex ideas that tell your reader more about your characters. Balance is key. As you read through your chapter, notice where you've used several similar sentence lengths in a row. If you find too many long sentences, look for areas where you have introduced several new ideas in one sentence and split them to make them easier to read. If you've unintentionally grouped your shorter sentences, check whether you're giving readers enough detail. When checking for variety, it helps to visualize your sentence lengths. Now, I want to tell you, Grammarly Premium will let you know if you have written a monotonous passage. So if you have 5 sentences in a row that are all 8 words long, it's going to tell you. It's going to tell you this is a monotonous passage. If you have several really long sentences in a row, it's going to tell you. Perhaps reword it this way, and it'll break it up for you. It'll offer suggestions, and it's up to you whether or not you take those suggestions. But we need to be thinking about varying sentence lengths. Add excitement with expert pacing. Varied sentence lengths are a useful tool to help balance your pacing, but it comes down to the ideas that you're sharing too. Even if you aren't writing an action or fantasy story, you still need to balance backstory and exposition with action and dialogue. There is no set rule. But if your narrative spends more than a few paragraphs in your protagonist's head without them doing anything or speaking to anyone, readers might start skipping sections looking for action. Highlight sections of your text where you step back and explain what's happening to your reader. Do you spend paragraphs retelling a pivotal argument your protagonist had with their parents, or explaining the lore of two opposing forces in your battle scene? Yes, your reader needs to understand what's happening, but often they don't need all the details. They need to see how those details manifest themselves in the present day of your story. Ask yourself, does my reader need to know this to understand the stakes of my story? Can I reveal that detail through dialogue, subtext, or body language? See, that's something we haven't even touched on. We could have had an entire other week of class where we wrote body language. We added nonverbals to our characters. There's so much to talk about when it comes to strong writing. So be thinking about that too. Add nonverbals to your characters. Do I need to explain this all in one go or all in one go? Oh, I added those hyphens. Those don't work there. I need to fix that. Or will it become evident as my story progresses? On the flip side, if your story is all action and dialogue, you're probably not giving readers enough detail to care about your characters. If your protagonist feels excruciating pain when another character dies, you need to have set up the relationship to explain why. Otherwise, that pain is not believable. Before you start editing the finer details like word choice, take a wider overview and make sure your story's pace feels satisfying. And remember, Chuck Wendig talked about the peaks and the valleys. We need to go up and down. We need to have conflict, and a break. And then we go back up to the climax and maybe a little break and then right back up. We have to give it peaks and valleys. If you're not sure where to start, then Pro Writing's pacing report would be a good tool for you. Unstick your sentences to use your words effectively. Unstick my sentences? What, pray tell, does that mean? We've taken a look at the bigger picture: readability, sentence length, and pacing. Now we'll start to zoom in. Sticky sentences contain a high percentage of glue words. These are there are 200 most common words in the English language, like the, was, on, so, and, of, with, etc. Without glue words, your sentences would fall apart. However, they don't add anything to your meaning. They just help to stick the meaningful words together. The idea is to use this glue strategically so your readers don't notice it's there. Take this sentence. After I got home from work late in the evening yet again, I went to the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and poured myself a very large glass of wine. The glue word percentage in that sentence is 56%. 56% of the words are just glue words. In this sentence, the reader has to fight through half a sentence full of glue words to get to the meaning. When you notice a sentence with a high percentage of glue words, consider what you are trying to tell your reader. In this example, we're trying to say that the character is frustrated and exhausted from a series of long working days. Let's try rewriting. I kicked off my work boots, poured an inadvisably large glass of wine, and collapsed on the sofa in my dark apartment. Glue word percentage, 36. Both sentences tell us the same thing, but the second one gives us more a sense of how the character feels. The reader can probably guess that the wine came from the kitchen and they don't really need to know if it was chilled or not. Instead, we use our words more effectively by honing in on these emotions, frustration and exhaustion. Spotting glue words like this takes time. Pro Writing Aids Sticky Sentence Report. Ooh, Highlight sentences with a glue index of over 40% so you can focus on your attention where your edits will make the most impact. How many of us are going to go check that out, right? I'm thinking that that's something that we need to add, all of us. I've checked it out. I just haven't made it take the place of Grammarly yet. What am I doing here? Number 5, banish passive voice for stronger sentences. You want to show the judges that you are in control of your story. They're talking about for the Page Turner Awards contest for their 3,000 word piece. Writing as decisively as possible unless you are purposefully trying to convey indecision helps you to do this. Passive writing puts the subject of your sentence second. In passive sentences, the action in the sentence, the verb, happens to the subject rather than the subject driving the action. Here's an example. The door was opened by his wife. Let's convert that to active. His wife opened the door. Not only is the second sentence shorter, but it also gives us the most important information up front. We'll put the sentence into context to see how this works. There was a knock on the hotel room door. Room service? He hadn't ordered anything. The woman in the bed next to him barely stirred. Come in, he called. His wife opened the door. Using the passive voice would decrease the tension in the scene. It would also sound clunkier. Switching to active voice allows us to realize the stakes in the scene and connect information more effectively. We need to avoid passive voice, and that's another thing that Words Editor is going to catch, and Grammarly Premium is going to catch, and Pro Writing Aid will definitely catch. Number 6, reduce repeats to keep things fresh. Now, if you remember when we did the Manual of Flowers, we talked a lot about repetition, and they're referencing the Page Turner Award submission here. But you only have 3,000 words to absorb the judges in your story, so you better make each one count. We're doing a first chapter here. You've got your 20,000 word project, but we're pulling from it just the first chapter, however many words that is. Have you ever noticed when an author favors a particular word in their descriptions? Maybe every character has a wry smile, or every loud noise is a crash. At best, repeated and overused words become white noise that your reader has to filter through. At worst, they're distracting or even annoying. As you edit, look for the words you rely on in your descriptions. If you use the word powerful several times in your chapter, the power you're trying to convey gets diminished. Once you've taken a bird's eye view of your chapter, make sure to double check your paragraph too. Using the same word repeatedly in a paragraph can lead your reader to reread the previous sentence to see whether you've written the same sentence twice. Repeats, especially close repeats, pull your reader out of your story and make them focus on the mechanics of your writing, just like the old woman with the old baby pram, and he loved to see her eyes light up with surprise and joy when he brought her a surprise. Right? But it's different when we say, he swung the hammer, swung the hammer, swung the hammer. The spill, spilled, spilling, screaming in love, screaming, screaming, and he swung the hammer because she might scream, and he swung the hammer to kill the scream. And he swung the hammer, swung the hammer, swung the hammer, as he had done 5 other times. Sometimes repetition is good. Sometimes it's really bad. And you know, I just had like this memory right now of a tool that we can use. And I'm going to go ahead and pop us out of there because I want to see if we can find this. Something that I have done before. And I want to see word cloud generator free. I think Monkey Learn is the one I've used before. Let's do this. This is going to be a good time. All right, so we need to take all of this text out of here. And we're going to put our own text inside of it. Is that, oh no, let's do upload text file. Okay, I'm going to upload something. Let's go to my writing file. We'll pick a short story. Let's pick the Spooklight story. Now, it didn't pick what I wanted it to. Let's go back. It didn't allow me to. I clicked too hard and too fast. Okay, we want this version. All right, so it's processing the text. Oh, it must not like my font. Huh. Let's try a different one because I want you guys to see how this works. That one's not working. Let's try this first one. All right. Paste or type your text to generate your free word clouds. Well, I guess then I have to. I'm sorry, I should have been more prepared for this, but I really want you to see this. So we're gonna have you bear with me. We're gonna open up the Devil's Promenade. To select all, copy. Come back over here to paste. All right. There are 1,000 words in my list. Look at that. Johnny is used 41 times. Eyes are used 36 times. Frank 32 times. Car 32 times. Light 25. Mabel 24. Back 21. How interesting. Cigarettes used 13 times. All right. Nice. Okay. So we've got that. What is this? Oh, that's just the let's do, what does Poppins look like? All right. Do we want different colors? Let's go with a blue. Oh, it didn't really do it, but that's fine. So here we go. If you want to know what words you use the most and what words you're relying on the most, there they are. Isn't that cool? It's a fun way to find out what words you're using perhaps too much. So I can see from this what words I'm using the most. Definitely, I said Johnny the most. Johnny, Frank, and eyes, car, light, Grace, road, face, back, Mabel, and then some of the other words. So this is a great way. Plus the word list. How fantastic is that? That is super cool. I wanted to share this with you guys because it just hit me, and I think I'm going to add this onto our course shell because it's a super good idea for you guys to do a word cloud generator so you can see what words you're using too much. What words are you overusing? So that's awesome stuff. Now, number 7, avoid overused words. Aren't we ironically repeating ourselves here? Overused words are different from repeated words, though they are often repeated once you start using them. These are words that many writers overuse, like really, very, would, felt, and saw. Most of those, every time. Just take them out. All of these indicate that you're using weaker adjectives or verbs where a strong adjective or verb would be more effective. Identifying overused words will help you find areas where you can be more specific. These are all opportunities to layer your personal writing style into your work by creating descriptions that convey your meaning effectively. So instead of saying someone is really tall, say they towered over your character. When you use vague words like would or could, you make sure you're using them to purposefully convey indecisiveness. Using them too often in your point of view narrative makes your voice sound unconvincing. Don't say would. I would like to. No, you say I want to. I will. Be more bold. Reveal your verbs to strengthen your writing. Hidden verbs weaken your writing. They separate the actor from the action and make your writing sound indecisive. So what is a hidden verb? Here are some examples. Make an announcement. Say announce. Reach a conclusion. Conclude. Make a decision. Decide. Make stronger. Strengthen. Take into consideration. Consider. Give information. Inform. We want to always be reaching for the stronger verbs. In the first example, you give all the power to a weak verb like make, give, reach, or take, sidelining the verb you actually want to use. Decide, consider, announce. Be bold with your verbs. Verbs drive your story forward. They inform, inspire, and engage. But when you hide them, they become detached from your story and characters. To find and fix hidden verbs, look for the weak verbs that come before them, like reach, take, make, and give. Verbs are powerful tools for writers. Show that you have full command of your writing toolkit by setting your verbs free. Oh, I love this. Unleash your senses. Thank you, Stephen King and Chuck Wendig both. We all experience the world in different ways, and yet many writers rely almost exclusively on visual words to describe their worlds and characters. This can make your writing feel what? Stale. So how do we fix it? Highlight all of the sense words in your document. That's any words that relate to touch, smell, taste, sound, or sight. Note which senses you tend toward, then assess where different senses may produce a more effective description based on your characters and story stakes. That'd be a great idea. And apparently Pro Writing Aid has a sensory report. Fantastic. How many sight words are you using? How many sound words are you using? How many taste words are you using? Do you overuse one more than the other? Do you need to provide a more balanced experience for your readers? Yes, we do. So, for example, if a character is afraid of the dark and you've thrown him into a dark room, instead of focusing on the lack of light, use sound or touch words to heighten his fear of the unknown. It's a great idea. Check your grammar, style, and spelling. Notice that that's the last one. Nothing makes readers lose confidence faster. A second here. Than a typo. So why didn't we put this step first? Diving right into your grammar, spelling, and style edits before you fix sentence length, word choice, and other structural issues can lead to wasted time. Either you'll fix things that you cut out later, or you'll miss mistakes in the sections you add. However, once you have everything else in place, it is vital to ensure your writing is as polished as possible. So they're saying, do this grammar check last. Focus on all those other things first. Then come in. Now, a tool like Pro Writing Aid, you can run several different reports, but with Grammarly Premium, you're going to be able to check most of these things at once. Except when you use Grammarly Premium inside of Word, it gives you a listing across the top of your screen when you're in Grammarly mode that you can check all of the conciseness, you can check all of the punctuation, you can check all of the vocabulary, you can check all of the style all at one time. So it breaks it down into categories there as well. Sometimes I do that. It depends on the length of the document that I'm working through. If I'm throwing a 300-page manuscript into it, I'm going to break it down into sections and just focus on one at a time. Because when I fix one thing, it might knock something else out, like what they're saying here. Go in and fix all those other things first, and then focus on your grammar. During this stage of your edit, you'll look at the following: spelling mistakes, misused punctuation, grammar errors, repeated sentence starts, unnecessary words, overused adverbs, redundant words, and more. Making simple grammar and spelling errors can suggest you don't really care about your entry. Submitting error-free work gives you the best chance of persuading the judges to read and love your chapter in its entirety. And that applies to turning in your final draft of your writing project as well in a novel writing class, or wherever it is that you are wanting to submit. Lots of grammatical mistakes, things like this that haven't been addressed and they're just sitting there obvious for the world to see, indicates that you don't really truly care about the process. So you need to be thinking about that. There's another article here in the PowerPoint called The Myth of One and Done. Why you need to edit multiple times. This is written by Kate Sullivan, and it is from Pro Writing Aid. You're welcome. The link is down here at the bottom. She says, the end. You've just finished your manuscript. Time to pop the champagne and celebrate. You're an author. Not so fast. Yes, you've made a major accomplishment and one that's worth celebrating. But the work of becoming a professional writer is not done yet. That's because professional writers know a secret that aspiring authors might not realize. Editing is just as important as writing, maybe more so. A finished manuscript is not a polished manuscript, and editors, agents, and readers want a polished manuscript, a finished product that lives up to the quality standards we've come to expect. Whether you're writing fiction, nonfiction, a blog post, a magazine article, or any other piece of professional writing, you need to edit your work, and you need to edit it multiple times. The writing part, that's the easy part, and that's the part you guys have been stressing about. Editing, that's the work. Writing evolves as we work on it. When you first started work on your piece, it probably didn't look like much. Looked too much like I can't see it, the final product you've just finished. New research, new inspirations, and the twists and turns of plot and character development may all have contributed to shaping how the final piece turned out. Editing also shapes how your writing evolves. When you change one detail for continuity, you may have to change other parts of the manuscript, and that ripples through the whole work. In effect, each editing pass creates a new book or article that you'll need to read again with fresh eyes. Yes, it does. Been there, done that. This might seem intimidating. When does it all end? Don't worry, though. There's a point to all this. By following a multi-stage editing process, you can polish your work to the kind of shine that will impress the heck out of anyone who reads it, agents and editors included. Let's take a look. Number one, the stages of editing. This one's kind of like to me because you guys know I say don't edit as you write. She says while you write. The time to start editing is actually while you write the book. Now, this seems like it goes against the often cited rule that you shouldn't self-edit it while you write. You should just get the book on the page. That's a great principle because it stops you from second-guessing yourself and losing momentum. And what I mean here isn't that you should edit the manuscript yourself for character development, continuity, or flow. Instead, you should enlist the help of a tech tool to help you make your first draft as clean as it can be. Writing software like Pro Writing Aid can take care of grammar and spelling issues as they occur, freeing you up to let your ideas flow onto the page and making the next steps in the editing process much easier. Some of you are going to be comfortable with that. I'm not. I am still uncomfortable with that. There are a few things that I'll catch and change along the way as I'm typing, but I'm not going to do a deep dive into fixing grammar as I write because I don't want to come out of my flow, right? I'm a word vomit girl. I'm a pantser, and I'm going to let it go. I'm a pantser plotter. I'm going to have it built a little beforehand, and then I'm just going to hit the ground running, and I'm going to save all of the editing for the end. You have to find what works for you. After the draft, once you have finished your draft, put it away for a while. Go work on something else. Isn't this interesting? She's saying the same thing that Stephen King does. Do marketing for other books, plot your next manuscript, or do something completely different. Don't touch the manuscript for at least 2 weeks. And again, we're not going to have that length of time. But in the future, remember that advice. You need that time and space to get some distance from it. When you come back, you'll have fresh eyes that might spot issues you wouldn't have seen if you just jumped right into the editing. Read your book as though you were a reader who just discovered it at the store. Be critical. What's working? What's not? Make notes to yourself as you go through, but don't change anything just yet. Let those notes sit for a few days and go back and read them. So don't just let your manuscript sit for a few days. Go through it and make some initial notes and then let those sit. And then go back through them. What still rings true for you? Those are the issues you have to tackle on your first revision. Good stuff. With someone else. Got that first revision done? Are you happy with what you've written now that you've gone through and addressed the fact that your protagonist's eyes change color halfway through and suddenly they're in Glasgow instead of London? I've had that happen. My character's eyes changed colors and I didn't realize it. A reader caught it. I mean, I could have been embarrassed, but I wasn't. I took it as a critique, a review, and I went, oh, I'll fix that. Great. It's time to take the leap, letting someone else read your work. We're all far too involved in our own writing to be our best editors. Instead, every writer needs to be able to hand their work off to someone else for constructive criticism. This person can be a paid professional editor, a trusted friend or colleague, or the wisdom of the crowd in the form of a few beta readers. Personally, I recommend having 2 teams and 2 editorial rounds here, beta readers and a pro editor. Okay, beta readers. Beta readers are normal folks who love books. They may have a keener eye for detail and grammatical mistakes than the average bear, but they're not trained editors. They read a lot and they have strong opinions on what works and what doesn't work. These people are your front line for outside edits. Typically, they're fans of your genre and possibly your personal work, and they know a lot about it. Send them your manuscript. Ask them to comment on it and tell you what works and what doesn't work for them. Some of them may even mark up the file with grammatical and continuity errors, which is great. But what you should expect overall is general comments on what works from a reader's perspective. Use these to critically evaluate your work through your audience's eyes. Did you skip a key point because it's like second nature to you? Did you explain something more thoroughly than you needed to? Is there a plot hole that you totally missed? Some comments you won't find valid or actionable. That's okay. Some you'll want to address immediately. So, how do you tell the difference? As a rule of thumb, if more than one beta reader points something out, you probably need to work on it in your edits. Professional editors. Unlike beta readers, professional editors are trained to spot issues with continuity, flow, pacing, grammar, and so on. It costs money to work with them. Experience and skills don't come cheap. But this is an investment in the future of your book and your writing career that's worth making. Even if you plan to traditionally publish, you want to invest in an editor. Agents and editors expect to see polished manuscripts, not rough drafts. Editors have different specialties, and not just in terms of genre. Some prefer to dig deep under the hood, helping you improve your characterization, structure, and plotting. Others prefer to tune things up closer to the surface, working on general mechanics. and still others act as proofreaders, giving you an objective set of eyes on your work as it nears completion. Which do you need? Well, honestly, most authors need all of these at different points. Check out this article to learn more about the different types of editing and when each might be right for you. So we've got a link here. It's from tckpublishing.com, different types of editing. So I will include this PowerPoint with this week's information on the Blackboard course shell, and you're welcome to go through the PowerPoint on your own, and you have all these links at your disposal. After revising, the next stage of editing happens after editing. Wait, what? You heard me. After you edit, you need to edit some more. Once you've worked with beta readers and/or a professional editor to revise your manuscript, you'll need to go through it one more time. Remember what we said about writing evolving during the process. Yep. You essentially have a whole new book after you've been through the revision process. You may have rewritten passages, scenes, or even entire chapters while addressing feedback from your beta readers and editor. Heck, I've worked with authors when we've done 2 or 3 rounds of editing, moving from deep developmental edits to light line edits over the course of several months. When you finally have a draft you're happy with, you need to edit it again. Read the manuscript out loud. If I had a microphone, I would drop it. Look, someone else is telling you this. Read the manuscript out loud. This lets you get a sense of pacing that doesn't work or words that don't flow. It also makes crystal clear if there's any sections that were left over from an earlier draft that no longer work. When you've done this final quality check, you're ready to proceed with the publishing process, whether that's self-publishing or submitting to agents and editors. Thank you, Pro Writing Aid, for that fantastic article there. Oh, there's just a little more. I was ahead of myself. After layout. Once you've gotten a contract or prep for self-publishing, there's still one more stage of editing you have to do. After a book has been laid out, it should always be proofread one last time. That's because a lot of things can happen during the layout process. Don't I know it? In using KDP, you upload your thing, it'll get skewed. Mark my words, and you have to go in and make some of those edits if you're planning on doing this self-publishing thing. A word can be broken into 2 lines. A V can be inserted when someone missed a key trying to use the paste shortcut. Chunks of a sentence can get scrambled when someone is adjusting drop caps or images. So no matter what, whenever you have a laid out book that's ready to upload to your digital or print service of choice, edit it again. You shouldn't be changing plot or structure at this point, just proofreading for typos, glitches, and errors. There will always be some mistakes left in the book. We are human after all. But this final editing pass can really work wonders for producing a clean, professional end product. Some final thoughts. Editing can seem tedious and boring compared to the thrilling work of creating a book in the first place, but believe me, it's worth it. Readers know the difference between a professional production and a shoddy slapdash amateur one, and they'll let the world know in their reviews. Taking the time to edit your work repeatedly, layering thoughts and care to trim away the fluff and leave only polished gem behind will set you apart from the hundreds of thousands of would-be authors who don't. This is key right here. You need to understand that this is an oversaturated market. Amazon by itself has assisted the oversaturation of the market. You can use KDP, you can use a variety of other sources. There are many other sources where you can publish your book. Hundreds of thousands, if not more. I would venture to say around the world there are millions of would-be authors who don't take the time to go through all of these stages of revision to create a polished manuscript. So you go forth and edit. And again, here on the PDF or on the PowerPoint is a link to that article in PDF format. Awesome stuff. When you edit, remember, ensure that you've had it put away for a good little while. a day or two at least. You have to emotionally disentangle from it. Read it out loud. Run Grammarly, grammar check, spell check, pro writing aid. I found this too, grammarcheck.net. Typed in grammar check into Google, and there are so many free sites. There's pro writing aid features, not free, but a great resource. Look out for I and you, use sparingly. Go through it 3 times at least, but really more. Have a trusted individual proofread it. Go to the writing center. Consider your audience. Use a rubric and a checklist. But first, some notes about grading. You guys are like, what? There's more? There's always more. I'm like an infomercial. And wait, there's more. More of my thoughts. Make sure that your writing is visually pleasing. Just had to drive that home. Make sure that you're capitalizing all the words that need capitalized, that you're checking capitalization throughout your entire manuscript. Titles need capitalized, except for these words. That's a fun little chart. I found that online. I thought, I have to share this. Watch out for those comma splices. Here's one. I'm not hiring him. He uses spaces, not tabs. He also writes comma splices, so no. Things that need addressed. Watch your indents. Use the tab button. I sometimes have students when they're writing, they will use, spacebar, and they'll click 3 times or 10 times. No. When you're indenting, use tab. Right. Take care of those comma splices. Remember, there are 3 ways to correct comma splice. At least 3 ways. There are actually more, but there are 3 ways to fix a comma splice. Watch out for the wrong words. This is when we read it out loud. So we're making sure that we have used the correct words because the English language is fun. We have so many spellings for words that sound the same. It's amazing, right? I went to Starbucks this morning, got myself a peach tea. And you probably can't see this, but look how the guy spelled my name. D-A-S-H-A. It's D-A-C-I-A, thank you. But that's our language for you. We need to make sure we're using the correct spelling so that the correct message is getting across and we're not saying massage instead of message. We want to make sure that we're using right words. Avoid chunky paragraphs. That's all I need to say about that. Just avoid them, please. My son sent me this, and I thought it was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Whoa, where did it go? Sorry, we got to look at this. He sent this to me and he said, Mom, I thought this would be good for your classes. And he was right. So funny. I love that kid. It's my oldest. He's 27 right now. This sentence has 5 words. Here are 5 more words. 5-word sentences are fine, but several together become monotonous. Listen to what is happening. The writing is getting boring. The sound of it drones. It's like a stuck record. The ear demands some variety. Now listen. I vary the sentence length and I create music. Music. The writing sings. It has a pleasant rhythm, a lilt, a harmony. I use short sentences and I use sentences of medium length. And sometimes when I am certain the reader is rested, I will engage him with a sentence of considerable length, a sentence that burns with energy and builds with all the impetus of a crescendo, the roll of the drums, the crash of the cymbals, sounds that say, listen to this, it is important. So write with a combination of short, medium, and long sentences. Create a sound that pleases the reader's ear. Don't just write words. Write music. Variety. Make sure there is variety in your writing. Isn't that beautiful? I think that's absolutely beautiful. Tense issues, make sure that you're not jumping around between present and past tense unless it makes sense. Like if you're doing flashbacks, things of that nature, you've got to make sure that you're not going to lose your audience with jumping around in tense agreement. Okay, it's got to be very clear. I challenge you to write in present tense. Challenge you. I mean, if you're doing flashbacks, it is going to be in past tense, but you know what I mean. Do avoid starting your sentences with I. Also watch how many times you use the word I when you're writing a narrative. It is not about you, and it's not about the main character all the time. Unless, of course, your main character is extremely self-centered. There's that run Grammarly. You know, I love it. So let's do good work. Focus, edit, peer review. Oh, yeah. Editing is a must. Accept that editing and having a second pair of eyes on your work can help you to shape your message so that it is understood. When you don't rely on your own editing and a second pair of eyes, the results can be disastrous. If you don't think so, you may not realize how many people lose trust in you and unsubscribe, delete, or even block when you miss an important mark. Get it right the first time because it's often the only chance you get. For your own sake and the sake of those who have to read what you write, edit your work. Use editing checklists, rubrics, whatever it is that you have. I remind you that in the handout section, I have given you the editing checklist that I put together. Now, this is specifically for essays, and that's more for a comp class or for other classes that you might be in. You might be able to draw some helpful things from it for your creative writing process. Now, I found this one, and there is an article attached with this one. I'm not going to open this one up and read it, but the article is here, thewritelife.com, edit your copy. And they include this chart, and I love this graphic. Cut long sentences in two, axe the adverbs, stick to one voice, remove extra punctuation, replace negative with positive, replace stuffy words, remove redundancies, reduce prepositions, cut in order to, don't use start to, nix that, replace thing, spot very and really, and take them out. Make your verb stronger, ditch the passive voice, refer to people as who, avoid currently, cut there is or there are, match up your bullet points, use contractions, steer clear of the ing trap, check your commas, use more than, not over, hyphenate modifiers, and identify your tells. Your tells are things that you do over and over on a regular basis. You make the same type of mistakes on a consistent basis. We all do that. You need to figure out what your tells are so that you can avoid those in the future. Now, I wanted to show you, what am I looking at here? What am I doing? Oh, I know what I'm looking at. I wanted to show you. When you use Grammarly inside of Word, this is what it looks like. Okay, right here, you can click Open Grammarly. And, oh, you know what? No. I haven't opened Grammarly yet. Let's say this correctly. This is Editor. So I have clicked on Editor right here. In Microsoft 365, they have the Editor feature. And Editor pulls up, and it gives this paper an 85. So there are 8 spelling errors, 7 grammar errors, and you can click each one of those and work your way through. Now, the same paper I took and ran through Grammarly, and Grammarly gives it a 79. So 79 with, I am really freaking myself out here. Here we go. 85 from Editor and a 79 from Grammarly. And I mentioned that earlier in the semester that they don't always see things the same way. So I run both when I'm editing. And this is what it looks like when I use Grammarly. You just go through and you fix them all. It really doesn't take that long. And just because they say that this might need change, it doesn't mean that it does. If you do need to use citations, make sure that you're using a proper citation style. My citation or citationmachine.net is a great resource. I just wanted to point that out quickly. And then we'll move on here. So it's time. We're going to jump into peer review this week. Review your group mates' papers, review their comments on yours, and make all necessary edits on your first chapter project. You will be turning that in, and then next week, we will have a Zoom meeting and we will talk about pulling it all together. I have some great information I want to share with you over a Zoom meeting. For those of you who are not able to join, the plan is to record that meeting and to upload it into week 16 so that you will have access to it. It would be better if everybody could be there, but it's not going to be mandatory. It will be an optional meeting because we are an asynchronous class. So that was a lot of information today, but it's also important. Editing is important. We need to be willing to do it. We need to understand that it is just as important, if not more important, than the actual writing. Because the editing is the magic. It's where the magic happens. And we want to make sure that we're putting our best efforts into ensuring that we are crafting our stories so that they're worthy of being told. All right. Thank you all very much. I'm going to let you go. If you have any questions or comments, or if you have any complications during your peer writing experience or your peer reviewing experience, reach out. Reach out. You know how to get a hold of me. Okay.